Be the change you want to see in the world. It's a concept that's inspired generations to stand up and make a difference in our world. But how do we inspire future generations to keep innovating in today's often toxic society? You take risks. Voqal believes taking risks and experimenting with new ideas is necessary to advance social change. But who is Voqal? Voqal is a national collaboration of educational broadband service licensees that envisions a socially equitable and just world with an empowered, well-informed public actively engaged in a thriving democracy. Every year, Voqal offers a select few talented thought leaders and change makers to participate in their fellowship program. Designed to increase equity and further progressive social justice-oriented causes, each fellow is tasked to take their big idea from concept to reality in just 6 months, culminating in a week of workshops at the annual Netroots Nation conference. FSTV Correspondent Imara Jones had the unique opportunity to speak with some of this year's fellows about their projects. Take a look at these future leaders.
I am ecstatic to be talking today with Maria Yun, who is a 2019 Voqal Fellow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what is your Voqal Fellowship project?
So the project is to bring text alerts to Issue Voter. And so what Issue Voter is, it's a nonpartisan online platform that gives anyone the ability to sign up for alerts on the issues they care about, that we will send them before Congress votes. We then summarize bills into layman's terms along with what both sides are saying. One click sends your opinion directly to your rep's office, and you get a scorecard that shows the percentage of time your rep is voting how you would want him or her to vote. And that's really unique because there are a lot of advocacy organizations, of course, that have scorecards, but they tend to be single issue. And there are also, candidate quizzes that kind of come out before the election time, but that's not always actually based on a voting record. And so that's what we're doing. Our mission is to give everyone a voice in our democracy by making civic engagement accessible, efficient, and impactful. And, I truly believe that we can create the world we want to live in with a truly representative democracy and a representative Congress.
And what issue or problem is this particular technology solution designed to resolve?
So there's a couple things. I would say, for me personally, when I had the light bulb moment was when I was a campaign manager in Iowa. And I saw that there was so much focus on elections, yet throughout the year, when the real work that affects our lives gets done, people are disengaged across America because it's not easy to be engaged. Congress introduces over 10,000 bills each session. Nearly 1,000 of them are voted on, and we are hearing about just a handful on the mainstream news.
That's right. And so it's to try to expand people's knowledge of what's taking place in Washington.
Exactly.
Do you have future plans to expand that? Because it seems to me that where there are big democratic deficits are at the local and the state level.
Yep. That's a great question. I think that local and state are absolutely important, but we really are focused on Congress. I think at the end of the day, when something becomes a national law, that's when it really has power for everyone in the country. And so that's what we are focusing on now. I think that something I'm really proud of is that 95% of people using Issue Voter have said that they've learned about new issues from it. 47% have said that they've learned new viewpoints, which I think now when we're seeing things so polarized, that's really important and also very interesting. And we're also seeing that 33% of our users have changed their voting decision. And I think Issue Voter can be something, when you're talking about progressives, for example, that can be especially powerful in primaries. Because, you may have someone in office that is, whatever party you kind of identify with is of that party, but they may not necessarily be representing you on every issue or as much as you thought. And we also have seen that as a direct result of using Issue Voter, 30% of our users voted. So in other words, these are people that without Issue Voter probably wouldn't have voted in the first place. So I think, leading into 2020, just that the ability to drive voter turnout is also very exciting.
And when will this particular application service launch?
So Issue Voter is live now, issuevoter.org. Anyone can sign up. And then in the next few weeks, we are actually going to be sending out a opt-in for text message alerts, which is exactly what the Voqal Fellowship enabled us to do.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for bringing your experience and your insight in terms of how to use technology to close democratic gaps and to get people engaged. Congratulations on your Voqal Fellowship, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
While Issue Voter promises to get you the information you need right in the palm of your hand, Alistair Chang's project recognizes that those living below the poverty line may not have access to or have the digital literacy needed to become informed. Civic Suds seeks to extend digital access and support digital literacy development for families in the United States living below 200% of the poverty line by installing public access computers and facilitating digital literacy training inside coin laundries. An activist since his teenage years, Alec Fisher was born for the Voqal Fellowship.
My project is GenQ Media. It's a media company that focuses on LGBTQ representation in the Midwest.
Fantastic. And why do you think that it's essential to focus on LGBTQ people in the Midwest in terms of representation?
I think a lot of the narratives that we typically hear are from the East and West Coasts, and a lot of the folks in the Midwest are overlooked, even though there are such powerful, diverse narratives present there. And so a lot of young people growing up think that the only way they can achieve success and happiness is if they move to one of the coasts. And I want to show that that's not true. You can be successful, you can find happiness within the Midwest region if you are queer or whatever you identify as.
And how will your project take shape?
Right now, thanks to the Voqal Foundation and the Voqal Fellowship, I've been able to start building the infrastructure for the project. So I've been able to start building out curriculum for schools. I've been able to start filming and taking photographs of narrative stories for people. And so it's been nice to see all of that, along with mentorship, being provided by Voqal.
And so will it take the form of social media, or will it be a dedicated website, or how exactly will people be able to access?
Yeah, there will be a website. Right now it's focusing on curriculum packages that will be sent to schools, and so it'll be engaging with youth directly on the ground.
Great. And what are you hoping will be the change that you see at the end of your project?
That's a good question. Well, I mean, ideally you'd want to shift the culture and allow people outside of the Midwest to realize that there are powerful stories based in the Midwest that are worth looking at and worth sharing. And then in the Midwest, obviously, increasing the amount of diversity, helping people see that there are diverse stories, and building empathy among people in rural and urban areas.
Where do you see, in terms of the Midwest, the places that are most in need of images and representations that you're going to produce?
Yeah, I mean, I think everywhere, but mainly rural areas, places where a lot of young people have to flee to cities to feel safe and secure, and then also within the big cities, even having to feel like they have to move to the coasts. And so I think it's needed everywhere, but looking at the differences between rural and urban areas and seeing they each have unique needs, and so trying to fit those needs with the packaging.
Yeah, especially rural people who are LGBTQ+, don't have a lot of media representation. And I think that sounds like that's a part of your project as well.
Yes.
Are you focusing in a specific city or state first?
I'm starting in Minnesota because I'm based in Minneapolis, and then the hope is to expand into all 12 states of the Midwest.
Fantastic. And how is the reception so far?
It's been good. I've been working with a lot of schools in more of the liberal areas who are really excited to have this content.
Right.
A lot of the content they have now in their curriculum is very outdated. It's only terminology based, and so they don't have any narrative stories to go along with it.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping to start there, and the reception has been really fantastic so far with that. And then hoping to expand into the more rural areas and then beyond Minnesota after that happens.
Wow, that's amazing. What is the one thing that being a Voqal Fellow is allowing you to do that you couldn't do before?
Ooh, it's allowing me to do this full time. I've been working on this for about 2 years, very part-time, and just having the resources to be able to dive in full-time and spend 100% of my energy on this has been so helpful. So that has been beyond exciting and has amplified what I've been able to do the last 5 months now. And plus the mentorship has been also helpful in guiding where I'm going to go.
Right. And how about Netroots and Netroots Nation? What is it like is it your first conference?
It is.
What is it like for you to be here?
It has been amazing. It's unbelievable to be surrounded by so many activists and advocates from so many different sectors of the world of advocacy, and just seeing everybody wanting to improve the world in their own ways has been really exciting, and getting to meet new people from all different sectors, it's just been unbelievable.
Well, thank you for joining us and good luck on your project. Thank you for your dedication in changing the world. So is there a place or a website or a Facebook page where you want to direct the audience to be able to follow along with what you're doing?
Yeah, you can follow GenQ Media on Facebook and Instagram. Right now the website is being constructed, so that should be up soon.
With the Voqal money?
Exactly, yes. So the Facebook and Instagram are sort of the beta versions, and those will expand as well.
Great. Well, all the best to you, Alec. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Like Alec, Kayvon Painter wanted to produce a one-stop shop where viewers and readers could go for the best news sources about their state, county, and neighborhood. And just like that, Block by Block News was born. Painter envisions reporters meeting communities' information needs by producing thoughtful, original, local, utility reporting in areas where trustworthy news has gone missing. Painter's pioneering a financial model, a media cooperative, which he believes can save community journalism and help local news ecosystems thrive at a time when they struggle to adapt in the digital age. The mobile gaming industry made $134.9 billion in 2018, and 2.4 billion people globally expected to play mobile games in 2019. Imagine what you could accomplish if even a fraction of this demographic used mobile games to move the dial on social justice issues. Well, Eric Garcia imagined it.
What is your Voqal Fellowship project?
It's called Game the System.
Game the System?
Yes. So so my plan is to build this gamified organizer platform.
Okay, what is a gaming platform for organizers?
Well, it's essentially it's a learning platform, but I'm planning to bring in like gaming aspects, which are like competition, point system, rewards, and make it fun. Make it fun for people to become organizers. We need more of those.
So is it all organizers? Is there a field in organizing that you're trying to get people, or is this to encourage organizers across the board?
Across the board, I mean, I'm trying to open it up, like open source it in terms of content. I'm going to welcome every progressive organization that wants to create, the content and put it in a single place where people can choose, what they want to learn. And yeah, so it's for new and for old people that are experienced already in organizing.
Oh, it's for already, not for new people, or is it for new people?
It is. I mean, it has like the intro, like even just learning the vocabulary, right? For me, it was very difficult when I just started. I got lost on the conversations. So it's for new people, but also it depends. It's like the onboarding process, which I think is very important. We'll ask people, where they stand. Like, have you organized before? Yes, no, and depending on that, then it'll take you to wherever your level of expertise. Yeah.
So, you're an organizer yourself right now? What type of organizing do you do?
Before joining Voqal, I was the senior technologist for Presente.org. So I'm the person behind, right? Behind the scenes. And I just wanted, in Presente, I mean, I read all the incoming emails, right? Whenever we send out a blast, and it's just interesting, to read people's responses, for campaigns, and them asking like, what can I do? How can I start? Not just a petition, but how can I take it further? So that's where the idea also, came up. It's like, okay, so how do we get these people engaged in a long term, and not make it boring, right? So.
What are you going to do on your platform to make it interesting?
I mean,
like why should someone engaging this gaming platform versus like playing Call of Duty or?
Ooh. That's a good question. Well, my first test will be people that are already engaged.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think. So going back to your first question, definitely. But I just want, I want them to invite other, one of the features that I plan to introduce is for them to invite their friends, right, to take courses and challenge them. Sort of like, like what Fitbit and other like private platforms in the private sector are doing already. where they invite you for the weekend, right? Like, oh, you have, let's see who wins, how many steps you can take during the weekend. So bringing those type of features into the platform and getting people to invite others, to take the courses and finish them during the weekend. Just as an example.
What do you think is the essential need for organizers at this particular moment?
Oh man, there's a lot going on. I mean, I'm particularly impacted by immigration, so that's one. Where can I start? I mean, there's a lot going on. The census coming up, the elections coming up. There's a lot to do, and I think we need more. It's cool and everything to show up, to events, but also it will be much more powerful to have organizers that can multiply. Yeah.
Right. And what is the Voqal Fellowship going to allow you to do that you couldn't do before?
Just giving me the time, opening up the space, and providing the mentorship, the networking, and the support. I mean, it's all an idea in your head, but once you have that team of supporting you, it becomes real.
Great. Well, all the best to you in your fellowship and for your gaming project. I hope that you send a way for me to be able to game as well, because I like games and I like organizing. So there you go. But all the best to you in applying your skills in this really important project that you're doing, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Inspired by interactive mobile games, our next fellow seeks to connect gamers face-to-face and capture politicians like Pokemon.
So my project is called Showupia, so Show Up IA.
Show Up IA, okay.
Or Showupia, I'm spelling it, yeah. Okay. It's, at its heart, it's a civic engagement game that lets you capture politicians like Pokemon. But that's kind of the high level. What the real vision is a virtual country governed by delicious democracy.
So is it is it a game?
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah. It's a civic engagement game that really makes it easier for organizers to get people to show up to their stuff, but also makes it easy for people who want to get involved to become an advocate, to become a lobbyist, to become an activist in an everyday, more human way.
Now, is it an enhanced reality? So it's on our phone and we're looking at the world through the vision?
Yeah, so instead of it being real, concretely virtual augmented reality, it's more of an alternate reality game. I call it kind of mixed reality or ultimate reality, where you use your phone as a kind of tool guide and an atlas for the real world.
All right, so how would it work? Tell me.
Yeah, so it's essentially the most basic ideas. It's you're a little character on a map.
Okay.
And the map is the real world. And so if you want to explore the world, you have to walk around in the real world. You have to go outside. And the more, let's say you open it up and there's a politician over there. It's it's a little pocket version of them. You would capture them by voting at them. And usually we'll put them at places where we want people to be showing up. So places of power, legislative bodies, protests, or community meetings. And then you open it up, you capture them, and then you have that local politician in your pocket to be able to call their real contact information whenever you want.
So the game will automatically identify politicians.
So it's not you're not actually tracking the locations of real politicians, but you are putting sort of a playful version of them in the game, so people can start to relate to politicians as working for them and in their pocket.
So if I have this game, I would create a virtual Donald Trump? How would it work?
Yeah. So the game is you open it up and there's a map of the world and you go out in the world and start exploring it based off of where we've put these little characters. And the game asks you, there's a new bill coming up. We have to get politicians on board. And so you find their pocket version, their little digital version on the map. But those are located in the real world at places that you want, that organizers want people to be going towards. So it's both a fun game that you can play in an everyday way, but also but also a tool for actually getting real strategy done and bringing people to places that matter.
So what is your application designed to solve? What's the problem you're trying to solve with your game?
I think the problem I'm trying to solve is that politics, right? It's just really uninteresting to a lot of people. People are dissatisfied with both parties. People feel disconnected from the process. And especially for people, you know, my community in DC, we have it really is like we don't have any of the tools that activists tell us to do. We can't call a senator because we don't have a senator. So you will be able to play it elsewhere, but it's really sort of starting as a kind of cooperative owned by people in DC to make it so that we have tools to be able to actually participate in the places that are really physically close to us, but don't really have representation.
And so who is your ideal user?
Yeah, I think there's a couple different groups, but I think the most obvious is people like organizers and activists who want to get involved but don't always know where everything is, or people who sort of keep up with the news but don't take action because it can feel very hopeless. It can feel very disillusioning. I don't know what the right term of the word there is, but where it feels like, yeah, I could go to a protest, but what's it gonna matter? Nobody's gonna know I'm there. I could take a picture, but, and it really is about rewarding people for communicating and connecting face to face. Yeah.
So 1 year from now, when your fellowship is over, what do you want to be the state of your augmented reality app?
Yeah. The app is going through beta testing in the fall. So we're finishing the prototype thanks to Voqal in the next couple months. And I really want to build a community that is using this idea of showing up places as a really powerful act and bringing digital organizing into the face-to-face. And so we'll shape the world, this virtual nation around those people and what people want out of the game, what people want out of the world. And create sort of a co-op, a community that uses this app as advocacy. In a year's time, I hope to have a public app launched so that anyone can then download it and play it in a kind of a national landscape where wherever you are, you can play it and there's all your local politicians in there, the local events, so that you know what's going on in your community.
And what do you see it as a tool, or how is it a tool beyond just the individual? Can organizations use it, or?
Yeah, so I think definitely organizers can use it as a thing to like help be like, this is where our events are, have people start to compete in the game. Their people can compete against other groups in the game. But I also see it as a thing where anyone can become a lobbyist, can sort of learn the power of expressing themselves, breaking bread, and there's so much free food on Capitol Hill that people don't know about and don't use. And what if people started going and normal people were in those conversations instead of it just being these policy experts? So really kind of getting people who could see themselves or maybe don't see themselves in politics right now to kind of be like, oh, I could have a really powerful presence if I just show up and kind of have fun and express how I feel and, you know, be a part of the conversation.
Great. Well, your idea is certainly innovative, unique. I wish you all the best in
Before we
your
go,
fellowship.
I do want to give you a passport to the virtual nation of Shawapia.
Thank you.
So you are welcome to join us and become a citizen in the nation.
Here's our passport. Thank you so much. You know, the way things are going, it helps to be a citizen of more than one place.
Yes, definitely.
So thank you so much. And thank you for joining us.
Music is a powerful medium. It has the power to make us dance, make us cry, and even fall in love. Voqal Fellow Ali Fadlallah knows exactly how powerful music can be.
So what is your vocal project?
So it's called Clef Notes, and if
With
folks
an E, not an I. Is that right?
Clef Notes with an E, yes. It's a play on Cliff's Notes, except a musical take on summarizing key social justice texts. So specific in that focusing on social justice books. The first one being The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. And it essentially summarizes these texts in song form. So the emphasis being on lyrics, similar to like Hamilton does, where the lyrics really bring the story to life. A lot of people don't know the Broadway musical Hamilton was based on a book, a biography by Alexander Hamilton that inspired Lin-Manuel Miranda to create this wonderful thing. So for me, it was born out of reading these books and feeling like the people who need this information the most don't have access to it. So I was a doctoral student when The New Jim Crow came out, and I read 2-3 pages and my brain got fried. So I was thinking, how do my 11th graders that I was teaching in Clarksdale, Mississippi feel when they're trying to go through these texts? And I remember asking them, you know, how many of you have a family member or have a close friend who has been impacted through mass incarceration, and virtually the entire classroom raised their hand. So,
sadly.
Yeah.
So, Ali, so it sounds like The New Jim Crow is your first example, is it? Or leading example? So you care to give us a sample? Like how does it work? Do you want to sing for us?
I don't want to sing. I'm early in the, I've written music, I released music, I have music on Spotify and Apple Music, not New Jim Crow music.
Okay.
So I'm still very much in this, the fellowship has given me the space, the time to be creative and start writing those songs, composing those instrumentals, which I've relied on other producers for that as well. So early in that process, so I unfortunately gotta decline the performance piece. Right
I had to ask.
Yeah, you do.
You know, you never know. You may have, it might have been right in you.
Yeah, right. That's true.
You, can you talk about for you what social justice means for you, and why you believe it's so important? I mean, and the way in which you're doing it and combining it with music and art. But I mean, you're a teacher, right? You read The New Jim Crow. You've come up with this really innovative idea, but it all focuses on social justice. So why is that really important to you?
Yeah, I love that question. Social justice for me is, in one word, freedom. In more than one word, liberation, mind, body, soul. I'm a spiritual person. I'm a believer. So I can't think of social justice separate from that. I believe that we live in especially divisive times, and what we need, as much as all of the workshops that we have today, is sort of a spiritual awakening, a recognition that we are all from one source, and that love is the answer. And so social justice is that for me.
And art for you, is it something that began as a hobby? Was it on the margins? How did you come into your artistic self?
Thanks for that question. So that brings me into a bit of my history. I'm from Dearborn, Michigan, which is the most densely populated region of Arabs and Muslims outside of the Middle East. Very immigrant populated, very unique town, immigrants from Lebanon, Syria, Palestine, Iraq, just everywhere. And my parents were immigrants. And for me, there was that immigrant first generation parental pressure to doctor, lawyer, or something that we recognize as a path to financial security. And I was an artist. I've always been into the creative arts, and they weren't having it. So for me, yet they were, relatively so open-minded and supportive and loving. And so for me, it was this constant wrestle of having to strike a balance between putting them at ease and pursuing my dream. And so I couldn't do what a lot of people who grow up in the West do, which is hell with you, parents. It's my way or the highway, especially when you see how much they've sacrificed for you. There's a debt that goes along with that. And so for me, it was, again, finding that balance, and the way I did it was through social entrepreneurship, actually. I went and got an MBA. It's not something I ever thought I would do. I was never mathematically inclined. I was never business oriented. I did that to give them some security. but then I didn't want to go that, I didn't want to do something traditional that an MBA would do. I ended up going into a doctorate program, which was interdisciplinary by nature, some education, some policy, some business. It was a 3-year practice-based doctorate degree. And again, really social entrepreneurship being the glue that allowed me to continue to do my music on the side and build toward that. And once I got the doctorate, I'm like, listen, I'm good. I can always fall back on something. And I'm just going full force with the music now. So I think it put them more at ease, and that's where I've been since.
Well, thank you for your journey and the way in which through this project, it seems like you're able to finally synthesize so many of the parts of yourself that you've built out.
Thank you.
So we wish you all the best and tremendous luck in building out this project. It sounds absolutely fascinating. So maybe next time you come on, you actually have some bars to sing.
Yes, absolutely.
Please let us and everyone know how to find your work once it's up.
Thank you so much.
And last but not least, Richard Wallace is a Chicago native and dually an organizer and artist in the fight to end economic violence and anti-Black racism. His project, Equity and Transformation, EAT, is an organization that uses an innovative approach to community organizing that harnesses the voices of Chicago's informal economy to advance social change locally and increase equity for those who are the most excluded politically, economically, and socially. From socially conscious mobile games to innovative SMS alerts, each Voqal Fellow's unique approach to activism utilizes technology to advance social change. As technology continues to be an integral part of our lives, who will be the ones with the next big idea? If you have a passion for social justice, progressive politics, or transformative media and technology, this program may be for you. Find out more at voqal.org.